Hello and welcome back to Flute Tip of the Week. By the time this video gets out there, my nephew will have gotten married. So congratulations, and I hope you guys have the absolute best luck in the world. And yes, I have a nephew who is married. I also have a niece who has 2 kids. My family tree is a little bit complicated. This week, I wanted to give you a tutorial on how to use some of my favorite extended techniques. And that's all to do with articulation. So let's jump in and extend our horizons. With percussive articulation, you can emulate the sounds of other instruments and utilize them in repertoire or improvisation. Especially for younger flute players, everyone can be really obsessed with the idea of beatboxing on the flute. But even if you're not doing it as a combined method, percussive articulation can be used for so many colors, and I'm going to be talking about those today. First off, let's do what I call pizzicato. Essentially, what you do for this is you simply create the sound of a very harsh duh for regular single tonguing, but you do not push any air through it. The only air that travels through the flute is what is produced simply by the action of your tongue. So you're going to place the tongue more in the middle of your palate than closer to your teeth and create a very harsh sound. With this, you will have to have your tongue pressed against it and then release it. So this kind of articulation does require a bit of preparation beforehand. So it does take a lot of practice to be able to get it to work very quickly. A few times, try just going. Now, do it with a relaxed embouchure. Then, once you're comfortable with that, simply put your flute to it. Not only will you find this kind of articulation in modern repertoire, but you can also use this if you are covering a string part and a pizzicato section comes up. So that instead of just playing staccato, you're doing the flute equivalent of plucking the string, because there's no continued air action, there's no drawing of the bow. Next, we use the other side of the double tongue, so going ka, we let the air go through as opposed to with the pizzicato tongue. So, as if you're going cool, cool, cool. Then do it with a more open and flute embouchure. And then do it with the flute in front of you. This is often paired with a ch sound. And this kind of creates the sound of a hi-hat on a drum when it's open or closed. So the open version would be going cha, like change, but ch, ch, ch. So if you spell it out, it's simply the CH sound. Do it a few times with a more open flute-like embouchure. Ch, ch, ch. Then do it with flute. So if you combine it with the ka sound, you can get something like this. Next, we've got the Semite beatboxing sound. So this is a combination. One of the more famous people who uses this is Greg Patillo, who does covers of things like Inspector Gadget and the Super Mario Brothers theme song, and I really liked the way that he described it. So essentially, what you're going to be saying is boots and cats. So boots and cats and boots and cats and boots. But you take away the vowel sounds. So now let your air continue through that. Keep on blowing as if you are going to be blowing through the flute, but for the articulation, still doing. So it'll sound like. Then transfer it onto the flute. And finally, for this tutorial, I'm going to talk about ram tongue. I did talk about this in my video for Halloween, the one that was called Spooky Sounds. but just for the sake of entirety for this video, I wanted to talk about it again. So for ram tongue, I like to call it poison dart. You are going to be blowing very fast directly into the head joint of the flute, and you're going to be covering the hole completely with your lips, and you blow very, very fast and then stop it by sticking your tongue between your lips. So it looks like this. And you have to get the air going very fast so that you're able to have a huge impact between the air flowing quickly through the flute and then suddenly being stopped. And when you do this, the sound the flute makes is 1/9 lower than what you're fingering out. So it sounds like this. Didn't realize how different that was going to feel on my new head joint. My head joint has a kind of half lip plate, because basically the only part of the lip you need is what your chin is resting on. Didn't realize that it would make it feel a little bit weird on this, but it still works. Those are my favorite percussive articulations. They're a lot of fun, you find them in a lot of contemporary pieces, and it's also great color to add when you're improvising. So again, that tip was with percussive articulation, you can emulate the sounds of other instruments and utilize them in repertoire and improvisations. I hope you find this week's tip helpful. It's always great to be experimenting with extended techniques, and I think that percussive articulation is the best place to start. So let me know how it's going for all y'all. I'll see you all next week. Flute happy, drum happy, and about 1.5 years ago, I was doing a kind of presentation for my sister's class of, I think they're 4th graders. Anyway, at one point, I was talking about how you can do flute playing with a lot of popular songs, and I played the Pokemon theme song. One kid asked, "What is that?" And I said, "Well, it's the Pokemon theme song." Their response was, "Pokemon is for old people." Ouch! That just really hurt. But on the bright side, a bunch of kids are now doing The Floor is Lava. Spoiler alert, I did that when I was 5. Now what do you think is for old people? Boom.